and I commend you guys for being here today. And so while I was sitting down this past week and putting together this, I wanted to make sure that I'm bringing you something of value that you're going to be able to take back home for yourselves, but more so for the people that you guys are talking to. Okay? Because there's a couple of things that we're going to go over in this presentation that you guys are going to impact the lives of generations upon generations upon generations. Okay? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to bring out your notebooks. Okay? You guys want to take a lot of notes. In about these next 20 to 25 minutes, you guys are going to get an equivalent to a master's degree in nutrition. Okay? I truly believe that you guys can get all the information that a master's in nutrition can get in these next 25 minutes. So I basically cut out all the fluff, and I've given you guys what you guys need to know. Yeah, so here's what we're going to go over. Okay? We're going to look at how the body ages and then deteriorates or degenerates. Okay? The next part that we're going to go over in the next section is what role does actual pH balance, what role does it play in your body, keeping it healthy and keeping it from falling apart. And then the last part is, what do we do about it? What do we do about all the stuff that we're encountering? Just this past week, we had a good family friend. She's roughly our age, mid-30s, diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm hearing all of these other people. I have numerous classmates diagnosing with all these different diseases that was once considered diseases of old age that's now hitting our youth. There's something that has to be done, guys. And guess what? Each one of you in here are the ambassadors to save another person's life to not go through that. Yeah. So I want you guys to take really good notes about what we're going to go over here. So let's look at how does the body actually degenerate. I mean, everybody knows people, as you get older, your body changes, right? So typically your body loses muscle mass. People start to get wrinkles. People start to lose bone mineral density. That's fairly common. Here's what we're seeing nowadays, though, is that we're seeing this happen in 20 and 30-year-olds. What's supposed to be happening in your 80s and 90s. But here's the other crazier thing: is at the end of this presentation, you guys are going to see there's a subset of people in the entire world that are in their 80s, 90s, and even 100-year-olds. That have the health capacity of a 20 or 30-year-old. Isn't that crazy? I read this article about this one guy. He is 99 years old. He lives, I think he was in the Dominican Republic. The guy gets up every single day, gets his machete, chops down all the grass in his backyard, makes his own meals, and then he goes out and he does a full day's work. Comes back home, cooks his own meals, does all these things. So they went and interviewed him and they asked him, what is your definition of old age? And he said, 10 years older than what I currently am and what I'm always at. And he says, I'll never get old because old is a state of mind. Okay? So what happens is, as from birth to grave, there's something that happens in our society. Babies are born with everything that their body needs. But in the society that we live in, what happens is that we decrease in the amount of nutrients we're giving our body, so our body naturally decreases in that as we get older, and then it increases and it replaces the nutrients with what? Toxins. Toxins and toxins and toxins. But we don't think about that because we think of toxicity as being poisoning, and you take arsenic or something and you go to the hospital. But the toxicity that I'm talking about is a slow exposure over time. Every single day, everything that you're doing. People, this is the funny thing I hear from patients all the time. Well, I live a healthy lifestyle, I eat organic, and I live at Whole Foods, I do all those things, and I buy fresh canned air, I hear it all. Right? Really? And I read this one study where they monitored a family that was just like that. I think it was like in Napa Valley. And who lived an organic lifestyle, never did any of the other crazy stuff, never even set foot around a fast food restaurant. And they biopsied their tissues. And here's what they found. 50 of the top 52 carcinogens in their tissues. For those of you who don't know what carcinogens is the stuff that causes cancer. These people have never set foot around that stuff. And what's happening is that we live in a world that's full of toxins. After World War II, we created over 80,000 different chemicals that the world has never seen and our bodies have never seen. So what does our bodies do with it? It really has no idea. So when you look at all these different degenerative diseases, it's not necessarily your body malfunctioning, but your body's way of adapting and fighting against what we're doing to it. And what do we try to do is we try to change the course of that. But there's something behind all of this. Okay, so we have to really get to the bottom of it. So when we look at aging, there was a I think he's an immunologist. His name is Dr. Freeze. Dr. Freeze basically came out with a hypothesis that's saying, as you know, this is his wording, but basically what he's saying is that as we're getting older, as we're able to increase the lifespan of people, we're not doing we're not doing a good job at creating an equal health span. So we're allowing people to live into their 80s and 90s, but people are still dying in their bodies ages 30 to 40. So in my opinion, that's a worse death than actually dying, being a prisoner in your own body. And I can guarantee that each one of you here knows one person or more that's going through that, that's dying every single day. Okay? So here's what it looks like, is our lifespan, it's about 79 years right now. Our health span should equate that. And then we should compress that red section, which is death and disease, that should be compressed into a very short amount of time. In my opinion, about a minute. Right? This is my mentor. His name was Dr. George Goodhart. He lived till he was 97 years old, and he practiced 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, till his last day. He got home from practice, sat on the couch, and he passed. That's my opinion. It's like, right, about a minute. That should be your suffering cycle. Okay, but that's not what's happening. So let's take a look at just the stats, because in my opinion, the numbers don't lie, right? Leading causes of death in 1900. You got this regular stuff: pneumonia, tuberculosis, all of these infectious diseases. We don't hear of the other stuff that we hear today. Now let's switch to today.
Wow.
All of this stuff, you don't see tuberculosis, diphtheria, and all that stuff. All of these things are preventable.
Yeah.
These are what we call man-made diseases. And this is a true testament of what our body does to adapt. It just forms these diseases as an adaptation. But what have we done in Western medicine? We've created more toxins to stop your body from realizing that it's adapting. We haven't gotten to the root cause of it. It's kind of like your house is burning down. The fireman comes up to your house and they're like, yeah, the house is burning down. And they give it a name, by the way. They call it, house burning downitis. Right? And then they say, oh, I see the problem. The problem here is that there's a fire alarm in the back that's making a lot of noise. Let me go over there. I'm going to turn off the fire alarm. Have a great life. Your house is still burning down. Here's the worst thing, guys, is that you turn off that alarm, you don't know how much damage is being done to your house. So we've created a society that's all about the numbers. So we go and we get tests and we're looking at the numbers and we're just like, okay, I took a medication, now my numbers are fine. No, it's not. The alarm's just off. Your house is burning down slowly by slowly by slowly. I've seen tons and tons of people. But what we're doing with Yoli here is we're turning off the alarm, we're putting out the fire, and we're building people a brand new house. And if they sponsor 3 preferred customers, this blows my mind here. So here's the 10 leading causes of death in the world. We often think that in the United States that we're being different than the rest of the world. But I can say this. We've spread our disease of lifestyle to the entire world. We just got off the cruise. I was expecting to go to these various exotic locations and it would be super different. I got off and everybody spoke English and everybody was eating the same foods. I was like, oh my gosh, this is totally the same. We've westernized the entire world. And we see the effects. The effects, look, everybody's dying of heart disease, stroke, and all that kind of stuff. Here's the biggest thing, guys. I want you to take a look at all these stats. Okay? These are all the same stuff. But there's one common cause behind all of this. One common cause. And it's not a deficiency in Prozac. It's not a deficiency, in high blood pressure medication. It's not a deficiency in that. So here's what we looked at, basically in the 1900s. We had a short lifespan, and people's health span kind of deteriorated about 75% away of their lifespan. But here's the crazier thing, is that modern day, in the 2000s, our health span is just as long as it was in 1900s. But we're not dying of an infectious disease, we're dying worse. We're dying of a degenerative disease. You don't die instantaneously, you remain biologically alive, but physiologically we're dying. Imagine that. You don't want to imagine that. Don't live that. Okay, so my whole purpose of what I want to instill into you guys today is I want to encourage you guys to look at what you guys are doing first for yourself, and then secondly, the message you guys take to other people. Yoli is bigger than a transformation kit. The only reason why I started with Yoli was not because of a transformation kit. It was because of the vision, first of all, the vision of what I saw what the Father's doing, and then secondly, what the products could actually do to people for their entire life. Not for 30 days, not for 90 days, not for a year, for your entire life. Okay? So I want you guys to live to your 100, 120, and then 30 seconds of suffering, and then move on. So I was talking about there's one major thing behind all of this stuff that's going on. So why is this happening in our world? We used to be able to say, why is this happening in the United States? But now we have to say, why is this happening in the world? A lot of people before, in the 1970s and 80s, we often heard this thing, well, it just runs in my family. How many of you guys heard that? Yeah. Diabetes runs in my family. Obesity just runs in my family. I'm poor, it just runs in my family. So, when I was in college, I was fortunate enough to be part of the Human Genome Project. How many of you guys are familiar with that? The Human Genome Project, we had no idea what we were doing at the time, but what we wanted to do was map out the entire human genome and then basically look at all the different genetic codes for diseases. Because we had this hypothesis that everybody had, a familial trait that will develop cancer or diabetes. Here's what we found. Every single human being has all the genes for all the diseases. Every single human being. But what happens is that we encourage a specific gene to display. So basically what genes are is a light switch. Something has to turn it on and something has to turn it off. Okay? So what they did was they did this very groundbreaking study that probably most people have never heard about. Most medical doctors have never even seen this study. Because if they did, they wouldn't subscribe to the idea of familial traits of genetic predisposition. So what they did was they said, if genes really accounted for disease, and you're genetically predisposed, then if you took a set of twins, they should develop the same disease at the same time. Isn't that correct? Genetically speaking, they have the exact same genetic code. So what they did was they took all these sets of twins and they looked at them. And here's what they found. They didn't develop the same rates of cancer. They didn't. One twin would develop cancer and the other one wouldn't. And what they found was that it was more on what their environment and lifestyle was like. Anybody guys ever wonder how they do cancer research, by the way? how they get the subjects for cancer research, like the lab rats. Well, one of my really good friends, he's a cancer researcher at Rochester University in New York. And I asked him the question, I was like, do you guys just wait around for rats to develop cancer? And he goes, no, we inject them with pesticides so that they develop the cancer, so that we can test them, and then we can see what drugs work on them. And I go, wait a minute. We're doing that to people. That's how we're getting all the stuff. So here, moving on here, we're often, educated that every single disease is developed because of lack of nutrients, toxins, or stressors. Well, yeah, that's actually secondary. What those things cause is oxidative damage to your tissues, which then increases your body acidity, which then your body will develop disease as a defense mechanism. So what we try to do is we try to solve all these things. We give people nutrients, we get them on a detox system, and then we try to de-stress them, but we never took care of one particular thing, which is your body pH. So your body is designed to be alkaline, but it functions to be acidic. Just like a car. Your car puts out exhaust, but you can't put the exhaust back into the car. Kind of like Beverly Hills Cop, right? You put the banana in the tailpipe. You put the banana in the tailpipe, the car doesn't run. Everybody has a banana in their tailpipe. Give them the transformation. And you get the banana out of the tailpipe. And if you really want to get the banana out of the tailpipe, take the Kinau dose of pure. So here's basically what happens in every single day. We eat food to develop energy. Okay, so we eat food, it has to digest, it has to get into your cells, and your cells make energy. But through this process, it creates toxins and metabolites. And it needs vitamins, minerals, and enzymes to convert things to the next step. If you don't have those things, it doesn't work properly. So here's what your body does. It starts stealing from itself. How many of you would like a bank account that continually replenishes itself? Right? But here's what you guys have in your body, is a bank account that you keep stealing from every single day. And nothing replenishes it. So at the end of the day, you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, my body's failing. Because here's what's happening. It's all this stuff. Right? So if you really want to kill yourself, here's how you do it. You impair the cell's ability to detoxify. You don't give it enough oxygen. You don't give it a way to balance out the acids. You don't give it enough nutrients. And then you make your blood sugar all erratic. That's a sure formula to develop disease. So here, if you want to develop health, do the exact opposite of this. Keep your blood sugar balanced. Detoxify. Balance out your pH levels. Give it the proper nutrients. Really easy. But that takes work. And it takes consistent work. So here's the effects of acidosis, metabolic acidosis. Right? Everything goes wrong in your body. See, a lot of times people think that disease just... Here's the funny thing I always hear from people. And I don't want to step on people's toes when they tell me this and they come into my office. They're like, well, I was just diagnosed with cancer yesterday. I go, no. You had cancer about 10 years ago. You just didn't know about it. Cancer just doesn't show up. It's not like a flu. I got cancer from this lady. It's been developing over time. Over time. And then people think that it's going to go away tomorrow. I'm sorry, you've been killing yourself for the last 20 years. It's going to take some time. Yeah. Okay, so here's what's happening, is that your body's developing all this stuff. You've been depleting a bank account that had over $1 billion. Putting $30 back into it is not going to bring you back up to where you were. It takes time. So here's my advice to you guys. Don't let your bank account reach zero and get a text message and say, oh my gosh, you're overdrawn. Do it now. Do it now. Okay? So how do we keep our body running at optimum? Well, your first month you're going to go on a transformation kit. Isn't that right? Yeah. Transformation kit. People are getting great results. But here's what I'm seeing from a lot of people. After their first month, they stop. I'm like, what the hell's going on? That's like Ronnie Cruz says in the DPT video, right? You don't take a shower just once. Right? So you're gonna go from your transformation kit and you're gonna transition over to a lifetime kit. And there's a reason, guys, why it's called a lifetime kit. Because it's a kit to be used for your lifetime. So people often ask me, well, how long should I stay in the lifetime kit? I say, as long as you want your lifetime to be. 3 months from now, fine. You know? So here's Ronnie Cruz. You're going to do this every single day. You don't just take a shower, you don't take a bath just one time and expect it to be clean for the rest of your life. You're doing it every single day. Every single day. Why? Well, here's some biochemical facts. You gotta eat. Whenever you eat, you develop toxins, you develop metabolites that kills your body, literally. Okay? You breathe oxygen. Anybody breathe oxygen in here? Anytime you're breathing oxygen, your body's rusting from the inside out. Okay? But you need oxygen. Everybody is being subjected to toxins. We live in a toxic world. Look at LA. Anybody who doesn't live in LA, you fly to LAX and you see this black cloud. No, that's not a rain cloud. That's not small. You're not supposed to see air. You're not supposed to taste water. But in LA, you do. That's not right. Everybody encounters stress. How many people encounter stress in here? Everybody should encounter stress. Who's married? Our top 8 stressors, getting married. The next one is getting divorced. And the third one is the death of a loved one. So we're all encountering stress. And by stress, your body's going downhill. And then everybody's body has to produce acidic metabolites. Everybody's body. It's just a byproduct of living. But your body has to keep that blood pH between 7.365, because anything above that or below that means trouble. So if you go above or below that, your body has to keep it in balance. So at minimum, people are asking, well, what is that minimum do I do? I'm like, all right, here's for the crybabies that want to do minimum stuff. Actually, your multivitamin, multimineral, and pure. Sure, that'll keep you above water, but that won't give you optimal health. That's just at minimum. That'll keep you alive. That'll keep your bank account above 0. Okay? But if you really want to live like the Eugene Hong lifestyle, Optimus Prime, is you're on everything. Everything. I mean, Yoli pays for you to eat the stuff. Yeah. You know, it's like, how can you not remain healthy? They're paying you to do this, literally. Free products and all this kind of stuff, take advantage of that. Anytime I see free products and I see team members get the free products, I rejoice. Because it means that you guys got another month of health. That's all to it. Okay. Really quickly here. This is the book I was talking about. It's called The Blue Zone. This guy went all around the world studying all these different cultures that was living into their 90s and 100 years old. And there was 7 common factors. First common factor is that they had a strong familial unit. Second one is they didn't smoke. Third one is that their diet was primarily plant-based. Now, they weren't all plant-based. They're not vegetarians, but it was about 80-20%. 80% plant-based, 20% animal. Okay? They had a moderate activity level. And when I'm saying that, I mean, they're not like climbing Mount Vesuvius over here. They're just, they're just walking. You know how many people don't walk? It's amazing. Next one is that social engagement. They actually talk to people, like real people, not Facebook people. They talk to people. Next one is they consume legumes, right? Lentils and all that kind of stuff. And then the biggest thing, guys, here's the biggest thing that a lot of people didn't really pick up, is that a lot of these places where they were situated was really close to volcanic activity, and their water was very alkaline. They had a high mineral content. So they're drinking that over and over and over again. So is it safe to say that we have all of this stuff in Yoli? Yes. Right? Especially the social and family. I mean, how many times do we go to Disneyland? How many times do we go to I mean, that's all we do. connected. Okay?
Yeah.
So here's your takeaway. My last thing I'm going to leave with you guys is this is all the stuff that you need to do, the key to health. Okay? Pass this on to everybody you know. Everything has to be clean. Secondarily, is your supplementation. You can't be eating like junk all the time and then expecting your supplements to do what you're supposed to be doing on your own. You're going to supplement, you're going to exercise secondarily and have structural balance. Stretching, yoga, getting adjusted, all that kind of stuff. And then you want to have a biannual detox. So you want to do a transformation kit at least twice a year. And then you're going to do a rotation of your foods. Don't eat the same thing every single day. Rotate it. Keep eating different stuff. Okay, so here's a wrap up of everything that I just said. Our bodies are being consistently bombarded over and over again. And our bodies are degenerating. Our bodies are highly acidic. So you guys gotta please be on alkaline for the rest of your life. I don't even care if you just take one bottle for the rest of your life, but don't get off it. I see too many people dying, and it's really, really difficult to get your health back, and it's really easy to maintain your health. If you want to maintain your health, it's really, really easy. I mean, you guys gotta talk to people. Because just like, that was mentioned that earlier today about how you don't know what people are struggling with as far as their struggles and all that kind of stuff. You often don't know what they're struggling with their health. You may not know that you're the savior for that next person. So get out and talk to people. Because sometimes people, you don't know how many days they have left. And just by you getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of your show, you just saved their life. I tell people that our tagline is we transform lives, but when we transform them, we're saving their lives. Because I truly believe that, if somebody approached me about, 17 years ago, my grandmother who died at age 61 would still be here. She didn't have to die at age 61. There's a lot of you who are in here today that have family members and friends that are going through this. You guys got to talk to people. Got to. Okay? And then you got to keep your bodies running well unless you can talk to people. Keep your bodies running well so you're the example and that you have the ability to talk to others. All right, guys. Take care. Aloha.